So basically, Indian Constitution gives right to the excused as well, as no one can be arrested without being told the ground of the arrest. Suppose if police is also going to arrest a person, police is supposed to explain to that person why police is going to arrest him. And then if the police has arrested, and the every excused person has a right to defend himself or herself, he or she can hire a lawyer, and then the arrested person should be produced before a magistrate within 24 hours. It should not happen कि police has arrested the person and they are not producing that person in front of the court. If the police has arrested, that person should be the police of in front of the court. Then what is preventive detention? See, under this there is a preventive detention also. Under preventive detention, the person can be arrested simply out of an apprehension that he or she is likely to engage in unlawful, means illegal activity, and which is there for the country's harm, for the social and national activities, and often misused by the government. Next is right to exploitation. So under right to exploitation, protect the underprivileged and deprived. The people, those who are underprivileged and deprived, protect the under right to exploitation. And selling, buying human and being, selling and buying, this is also the comes under this. So this is, there is a right under exploitation. Then what comes next under right to exploitation is any beggars or forced laborers, they are also having right, like nobody should be exploit them. And then the child labor, as we know ki under 14 year nobody is allowed to do the work. So this if anybody is doing that, so then their right is being violated. So this comes under right against exploitation. Then our next right is right to freedom of religion. Like India is a secular country and everybody has the right to follow the religion of his or her choice. They can follow any religion, they can worship any religion, they have freedom for it. They can go to any of the god, they can worship anything. So this is the freedom to profess, follow and propagate any religion. Then there are restriction on religion freedom as well. So now what are all the restrictions? Like the government can interfere in religious matter to protect public order, health and morality. It should not happen ki for the religious things rallies are going on in the road, so always government is there. So every rights has some limitations. Whatever the, we can follow any religion, we can worship any religion, we can organize any religion activity, but yes, we cannot, government cannot intervene in the religious matters. But yes, government can protect the public order, health and morality. Then forcibly religion conversion is not allowed. It's not like that ki if I am Hindu, you are Muslim, you should adopt me, you should follow me, I should follow you. There is nothing like that. So once again, India is a secular country. There is no official state, there is no official religion. All religions are treated equally. No religious instruction in an institution run by the government. Then cultural and educational rights of minority. Diversity, as we, the people in India are there from different languages, different cultures, different religious minorities are there. India is a country where unity in diversity. So there every minority is also having the right to maintain their own culture, to maintain their own language, to maintain their own groups. So this comes under cultural and educational rights of minority. So all minorities can set up their own education. No discrimination against any institution to preserve and develop their own culture. Then our next right is right to constitutional remedies, like heart and soul of the constitution. This is very important, right to constitutional remedies. So, under this, the citizen can approach a High Court or the Supreme Court if they feel their fundamental right is being violated. They have not given the proper fundamental right. So, citizen can approach to any of the court. So, then the Supreme Court and High Courts also can issue the 5 writs and orders to the government for the enforcement of the right. So what are those? First is habeas corpus. What is habeas corpus? This is against illegal detention. It means the person officially ordering a prisoner be brought to the court in order to determine imprisonment or release from the legal custody. So this is the habeas corpus. Second is mandaments. Mandaments means we command. It is the court's order basically commanding an inferior court or public authority to perform an official duty correctly, suppose if there is any error. Then prohibition, forbidding a lower court to perform act. So इसमें what happened, the lower court is asked to perform an act. So basically inferior court from exceeding its jurisdiction in cases which is not illegally invested or acting contrary to the rulers of national justice. Then certiorari to be informed. It is issued by the Supreme Court to inferior court, maybe high court or lower court, to transfer the matter to it or to some other superior authority for the proper consideration. So this is the certiorari to be informed. Then quo warranto. Quo warranto means what is by what authority restrain person from illegally holding a post. Suppose if any of the restraining person from acting in a public office to which is he or she is not entitled. For example, if the retirement age is 62 years, has been appointed to fit the retirement age is 60, and now the High Court has the right to issue a writ of quo warranto against that person to declare the office vacant. Then the next right is right to property. The 44th Amendment removed the right to property under Article 31 from the list of fundamental rights and converted it into a simple legal right under Article 300. So now So let us start discussing now directive principles of state policy. What is directive principles of state policy? Basically, it is similar to the fundamental rights, but these directive principles are borrowed from Ireland, and basically the directive principles, they provide the guidance, they give the ideas to the government like how we should follow. But whereas the fundamental rights are legally enforceable, but here it is not legally enforceable. The reason, because if the fundamental rights are violated, the person can go to the court, but if in under this the citizen cannot go approach to the court for its implementation. So now what are the content of the directive principles? See, main goal and objectives ki that a society should adopt, and the certain rights that individual should enjoy apart from the fundamental rights. For example, if it is right to live, the person can live anywhere in the country. So certain policies that the government should adopt. Then what is the goal? Basically, for the fundamental rights as well as for the directive principle, the main goals are welfare of the people. It provides social, economic and political justice. Then it gives the right to live with the dignity, everybody's living standard is raised. Then the equal distribution of justice, whatever the person required, it is given to them. Then promotion of international justice, like everywhere the person feel. Then non-justiciable right. What are non-justiciable rights? Like it is the adequate livelihood, then equal pay for equal work. If man and woman working at the same place, they should get the same salary. Then the right against exploitation, as we have studied earlier, like selling of human beings is a crime. Then the child under working under 14 years is a crime. Then right to work, everybody has right to work. Then right to of children for free and compulsory education till class 8th. Then what are the policies? It gives the uniform civil code to everyone. For example, if it is prohibition of consumption of equal alcoholic liquor, it is there everywhere. Then the promotion of cottage industry, prevention of slaughter of useful cattle, then promotion of village panchayat. Then अब क्या इफेक्ट हैं क्या, what is the effect of directive principle, the जमींदारी abolition bills. Then the nationalization of banks, top 14 banks are nationalized by Indira Gandhi. Numerous factory law, as the equal wages will be there for male and female. Children under 14 years will not be allowed to work. Fixed minimum wages, promoted cottage and small industry. जो small industries है उनके लिए बहुत सारा. Then provision for SC and ST reservation, like wherever field, either in the job or in the education or every field, there is a provision for SC and ST reservation. Then what is the difference between fundamental rights and directive principles? See, fundamental rights are restrain the government from doing certain things, like this can happen, this cannot happen. But here it exhausts the government to do certain things. There it protects the rights of the individual, and there it shows that it is for the entire society. Then there is one National Human Rights Commission also. It is established in 2000 and under the chairmanship of Supreme Court Justice, and it inquire human rights violation in its own initiative or on a petition. Jail visitings, research in human rights. Then what are the fundamental duties? So under 42nd Amendment 1976 inserted 10 fundamental duties of the citizen. It includes abide of the citizen, nobody will abide by the constitution. Then everybody should defend our country. It promotes abide by the constitution, defend our country. It promote harmony among the people. It protects the environment. See now, many of the countries, they rewrite their constitution in response to changed circumstances. For example, when the India got independence, India has seen each and every aspect, but now as the time is changing, all the amendments, not all, a few amendments are required change according to the circumstances. For example, if we talk about Article 370 has been removed from the Jammu Kashmir, this was the required today. So India has managed to be governed by the same constitution for the last 60 years, but only the few amendments, if it is changed, then how it has to be changed. See, the basic framework of the constitution is suited to India. So far-sighted constitution makers provide many solutions for the future situations, like they were knowing it as and when the time will go, there will be a requirement, the things will be changing, and there should be a solution for each and everything. So then how no constitution can provide for all eventualities, like Constitution Assembly inserted a few provisions to respond to the challenges. So what was those? It was the provision for constitutional modification according to the changing needs of the society. Then flexibility of interpretation. See, Indian Constitution is not a static document, is not a final word about everything, is not alterable. So Indian constitution is neither flexible nor rigid. So how it is flexible? Because it can be changed, it must be amended if so required, and the certain provisions can be easily amended. Then rigid, it protect from unnecessary change. Unwanted changes should not be there. For minute thing, the first priority should be the things to be managed within the constitution, but if something happens, then it should be amended. Then if the things required, how the amendments can be made. See, the first type of there are basically three types of constitutional amendment. The first is simple majority in the parliament, like both the houses, if they are ready, so then there can be a flexibility. There should not be no difference between the amendment, and the ordinary law can be done. Then the special majority. So as per the article 368, it should be passed separately by Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and no provision for the joint sitting. In special majority, the voting in favor of amendment bill should be constitute at least half of the total strength of that house. If it is whatever the house is, there should be a half of the total strength of that house, and the supporters of the amendment bill must also constitute 2/3 of those who actually take part in voting. Then special majority in parliament plus rectification by the half the state. So as per article 368, federal feature. What is federal feature? The local level, state level, and central level. So federal feature of the constitution is really difficult to amend. So for that, special majority in parliament plus ratification by the state. So what is the content of the amendment? It should be a technical or administrative nature. For example, if increase the retirement age of the judges or extending the period of the reservation. So only little bit of clarifications, explanations, and minor modification text comes under this. Then different interpretation. So what is different interpretation? Means the number of amendments are made to resolve clash between judiciary and parliament. Then amendment through political consensus, like to reflect the prevailing political philosophy and aspirations of the society, like anti-defection amendment 33 and 34. 33 belongs to rural area and 34 belongs to urban area. So 46th amendment, it was an attempt to override the ruling of Supreme Court in the Keshwananda case. So it was the duration of Lok Sabha tended to 6 years. So it inserted all the fundamental rights. There was a restriction in judicial review, and there was changes in the preamble. It inserted the word against socialist and secular. Then what is the basic structure of the constitution? The judiciary advanced this theory in Keshwananda Bharati case. No amendment can violate the basic structure of the constitution. It allows parliament to amend any and all parts of constitution, and judiciary is the final authority in deciding if any amendment is there. So the constitution continues to work effectively because of this ability to be dynamic, to be open to interpretation, and the ability to respond changing situation. Thank you.